What's up, everyone? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I want to talk about the water crisis in Newark. And the point I want to drive home today is not just Newark. It's not just Flint. It happened in all over this country. And this is what happens when we short-sighted when it comes to voting. Now, a lot of people out there is telling you don't vote. It doesn't matter. It's very important. And it's not just to vote blindly, but to bring up issues and actually call your representatives, whether it's on the state level, local level, federal level, whatever. We as a public, and I know it's hard, don't get me wrong. I know it's hard because we all busy, we have families, we have work. I mean, time is pressing. And a little bit of time that you do have for yourself, who really want to spend it educating yourself about policies and candidates and stuff like that when we barely have enough time to get a moment to ourselves. So trust me, I understand it, but it's something that's highly important and we must start doing this. And the reason why I say this is I remember I was talking to one of my friends about why we should vote, because he's on this thing why we shouldn't vote. And trust me, I understand it, especially with the Democratic Party taking black people votes for granted, which is absolutely true. But it's some issues that we don't think about. A few videos ago, I mentioned judges. Also, when it comes to environmental policy. Now, he said he didn't care about tree hugging. And the point I tried to drive home is environmental policy is more than just tree hugging. Look what happened in Flint. In another situation that is not nearly talked about enough is DuPont in Louisiana. The DuPont chemical plant there was emitting chemicals into the air that was causing people cancer in that area, a mainly black area. So this is why it is important for us to be involved in the process. And if the politicians that are currently running is not speaking to our issues, we need to run our own candidates. But we just shouldn't just say fuck the process or forget the process. It doesn't make sense, because these are critical issues that people are dying over. And it just seems like so many of us just think that, okay, we're going to hold our vote and everything's going to be fine. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. And I'm not just telling people to blindly vote for the Democrats. I wouldn't vote for the Republicans at all. But primary, these politicians is not doing anything, because these environmental policies that affected our people specifically is coming from a variety of different sources. Is the EPA, and the EPA right now under Trump is working to lessen environmental standards. Right now, almost every week they pass something to lessen regulation. Almost every week. And it's going to affect black people. It's going to affect everybody in this country. But the poorer areas and communities of color, as people like to say, but I like to say specifically black communities, usually get hurt the most with these policies. I'm not just saying get a Democrat in there that everything's going to be fine and we don't have to worry about nothing else. No, I'm not saying that, because Flint happened under the Obama administration, even though that was mainly a state issue. It mainly came from Snyder and the state of Michigan. But still, I don't think the federal government response was adequate. It wasn't adequate at all, and I think that's one of the reasons the Democrats lost Michigan. When Obama came there, drunk the water there, and just said everything was fine when everything wasn't fine. I think that helped to depress turnout. But so when you're voting, we got to get involved in these primary process. We got to get involved in the primary process. And a lot of times when you're local level, the primaries is basically the general election, because in most major cities, a Republican don't really have that much of a chance of winning, especially the office of mayor. They might be able to get maybe a state senate spot or a assembly spot, maybe a city council spot, depending on the area. But most major cities is dominated by Democrats. So the primary process is the most important process. And because of this, we miss out because a lot of us don't know when the primary is happening. Is your state open primary? Is it closed primary? Are you registered? And a lot of these states got bad laws. Like take New York for instance. New York is supposed to be this big progressive state, but we have some of the worst voting laws in the country. You know, they make it very hard to vote here in New York. Very hard. Which, you know, needs to be addressed. So my whole point is that we need to pay attention to these issues. I don't like the way the Democratic Party is responding to environmental issues because that's all they really talk about is climate change, which is important, which is definitely important, but it's a disconnect to the general public because you gotta stress it. You gotta make people feel what you're saying. I believe in climate change, and I think it's a major issue. But to the general public, a lot of people just don't feel that, you know, and it just seems so far away, even though the science saying that we might only have about 12 years to do something to reverse the effects. But to the general person, you know, worried about surviving day to day, they're not looking at that. But one thing that do affect the general public is pollution. You know, you have to link that. If you're going to talk about climate change, that's cool, and I don't begrudge that, but you have to link it with local environmental policies. You got to link it with pollution. You got to link it with how deregulation will affect people personally, not like 15 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, you know. Talk about DuPont in Louisiana. Talk about that. That's not mentioned. Talk about Flint. They barely mention Flint in the presidential elections right now. They barely mention it. And that's a huge environmental concern. A huge environmental concern. There's very little coverage right now of what's going on in Newark. And it was an article. I was doing a show called All You So Black a couple years ago. And we reported on an article that came out that mentioned how there's a lot more areas that are suffering from high level of lead in the water besides Flint. And it's more than just Newark right now. There's countless communities where the lead levels are crazy. And this gets almost no coverage. You know. Of course, mainstream media is not covering it. So it's up to us, you know. Hopefully, we gotta educate ourselves. And it's up to platforms, and even some, you know, independent platforms. A lot of them don't do a good job of covering issues like this. A lot of it is the hot button issues at the time, and sometimes, you know, it touched on, and we don't go beyond the surface level. We got to start going beyond the surface level of these issues and get deep, because like I said, with a lot of these issues, it's life or death. So remember, environmental policies is not just about hugging trees. This can affect you and your community directly. And of course, with lead, for those people that don't know, it's especially dangerous for children. You know, it been known to stunt developmental. It affects behavior. So this is very important issues. You know, and besides lead, like I said, there's factories, DuPont. In Buffalo, there's an environmental hazard on the east side with the old American Axle plant. We got a lot of old plants, a lot of dumping grounds. A lot of people is getting sick in this country. You know, so just remember that and keep that in mind when you're voting. We got to start making some of these town halls, if we can, and asking these politicians the questions that need to be asked, and make them focus on these issues that affect you directly. You know, and that's all I got for now. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.